Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Angels. We just finished the month of May, and if you look at our standings, you will notice that we are doing very nicely. We didn't have the greatest end to May, but we definitely had a very good little middle section of May. I was watching it as it seemed, and I was going, yes, that's exactly what you do right there. We had a 5-game winning streak somewhere in the midst of here, if I remember correctly. Or was it the month before? That might have been the month before, actually. I think it was the month before. But we had a 4-game winning streak in there. We won most of our series. We lost to the Boston Red Sox, which was kind of sad. But we tied against Detroit. Looks like, we'll start from the top. We lost to San Francisco and Seattle, and it was looking kind of bleak. But then we took 3 or 4 from Houston, tied the Colorado Rockies series. I think we had one game go postponed because it was raining or something like that. Swept Baltimore, and then won 3 out of 4 from Toronto, and at that point we looked really good. We lost the Boston series, but then came back to win the San Diego series and then tie the Detroit series. So we did very decently for the month. I forgot to mention that April actually went pretty well as well, pretty good as well, sweeping the A's 7 games. We own the A's when it comes to just beating them up, but then we lost and then won a series against Texas. We got swept by Houston, lost the Kansas City series, but then won the Seattle series. So we've been doing pretty decently so far, and it does show in our stats. We're first in runs scored. We are third in runs against. Our starters have been just amazing this month. I kind of want to look at their monthly performances and compare them because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the next couple of days. We do have some issues to cover, but that's another whole entire story. Calhoun came back from the disabled list, as has Richards. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because before we actually talk about Richards, let's talk about what's going well. Alright, what's going really well is our pitching rotation. Jared Weaver is now officially our number 5 starter, with Wilson coming in at a 2.59 ERA. He is doing phenomenal. Even the fact that his whip is at 1.28, which is lower than he's used to, he's just being able to not keep them from scoring runs against him. Even Weaver's 1.17 has a higher ERA than Wilson's, but Weaver's doing very well as well. I don't really see him having any problems. He may top 200 innings pitched for the second year in a row at this point, which would be very nice considering the 2 years before that he hadn't even come close. Kazmir has continued to do just everything perfectly fine. The 1.37 whip is a bit high, but the 3.28 ERA is exactly what I signed at $11 million number 3 pitcher for. That's exactly when we brought him in. He's left-handed, so we have a good option with him there. Schumacher was doing pretty terrible by the end of April, but he's calmed down here in May. You can see his ERA for the past 5 games was up around 5, and he's brought it back down to 4.5. So he's suffering, but it's okay. We feel like as if he can turn it around and do a good job. And then, of course, Shields just has been lights out the past couple of starts. His last 5 starts look amazing outside of those first 2 games where he just gave up a lot of runs. But he's on track to pitch 244 innings, which, that's an absurd amount of innings pitched. His record for his career is 249, which wasn't even a league leader back in 2011. But his average is more around 220. So to have 240 innings potentially, he is starting to catch on fire very, very quickly. So I don't feel like as if trading Shields is a good investment. Schumacher might be the one person that we actually trade at this point because he's the only weak link at this point. Our relief has continued to go down. Smith is doing much better now. After his rough starts, he's been settling down a little bit now, which is good. Soriano continues to just dominate. We just keep popping him in for 2 innings, half an inning, quarter an inning and a quarter, and he just comes in and does a great job. And Salas has been up and down. He's finally settling down, I think. Same thing with Morin. I think they're both finally settling down. Morin had settled down, but he just blew us a couple games, so that was sad to see. But then Street just continues to just operate like Street, and he's got 12 saves. His ERA's up a little bit, but technically I think he blew a save, and that's what cost us a lot of his ERA. But he's doing very well otherwise. Severino, the guy we brought up from, I think, last month, has now done 8 2/3 innings pitched, and only given up 1 earned run, so he's been very solid. In fact, he's someone that I gotta worry about because I almost want to keep him at this point. Perez, how big of a deal was Perez picking him up? He's done 13.2 thirds of an in 2/3 of an inning, but he's at a 2.63 ERA. He has been phenomenal for us at this point. Same with Pistano and Soriano, of course. I mean, we've had very good relief, very very good relief. Even though we gave up 3 runs and a loss to Toronto, just we've been very solid. We've been very solid. So now, there has been a couple issues. Zobrist is batting 215 overall for the year. That's sad. Ibar's batting 203. Technically, that's better than he used to be doing, but he did end the month on a cold streak, so sad to say that. Otherwise, everyone's doing kind of what I expected. 344 for Trout. He's cooled off, but he has 9 home runs now, which is good, and 19 stolen bases, which, he's on track to do like 50 or 60, which is kind of phenomenal. 60 at this point, which is kind of different for him. I kind of want to see him do a 30-30 year at least. Potentially go for that 40-40 season, which I would love to see him do. If he gets hot again, he probably could try for that, but that's a long shot. Dozier's cooled off a little bit. He's back down to 273. Pujols, however, caught on fire a little bit and raised his batting average up to 284 with the 9 home runs. So we are driving in runs and we're getting on base whenever we can, pretty much. Again, Calhoun just came back from his injury, and we decided that instead of Cron staying in the big leagues and doing as poorly as he was doing, because I'll show you why in a second here, we decided to put Calhoun in the DH, and let Zobrist play outfield since he is an amazing outfielder. So we decided to put him in the outfield, and we put Dozier in at second base, and Featherston has taken over third base for Johnson. Johnson was doing pretty decently, but he's kind of cooled off. We'll see if he can keep going. He's going to be our veteran leadership person, but he's splitting time right now with Featherston. And I think, no, he's not starting officially anymore, but he's pretty much playing, I'd say almost every single other game at this point, just because that's what it's doing at this point. Calgill's been playing a lot, actually, which has been interesting. I'm not a huge fan of having him play, to be honest, but he is better against, lefties? Yeah. Against lefties than Peralta is. But Peralta's done pretty well. 6 home runs, 285 batting average. He's looking at 20 homer season. That's all I really could ask for him at this point. So now, here's the issues. Ibar's 203 is just not acceptable. He was close to 220 at one point, and then he just did, basically 0 for 14. So he finished on a bit of a dry note. The other issue was Cron. Cron basically finished the month batting 223. He's only had 5 home runs. He's striking out a ton, and he's not getting walked. He's not driving in runs. He's getting triples, but he's just not doing what we need him to do, which is drive the ball into gaps. He's driving it right at people and not even hitting it sometimes. So we actually dropped him down for some work. And the big reason why is because his potential and overall ratings went way down on our head scout. Now, he's still rated to be a really good player, but if he can't reach that potential again, we could lose all of our potential on this guy, and that would be worse. Than even just pushing him through and trying to see how he did. Sur's cooled off, unfortunately, and he's now down to 2 of 2 stars. So this is kind of what I was expecting to happen. If we put him in the majors, he would just cool off and do nothing. So he's not going to be a good trading option at this point. But otherwise, some of the people we brought in have been doing okay. Wheeler's having a good AAA so far. I guess Crosby's the only person I actually really care about. He has got 10 home runs, so he's doing pretty decently. Now, here comes the interesting part. Garrett Richards has been starting to catch back on fire in AAA. He had a couple of rough starts, the first couple of rehab starts we sent him to, but he has combined, he only got 5 runs in his last 4 starts. He is ready to go, which means we have to lose a starter because Richards will take the number 1 slot in our rotation, but we have no room. So Schumacher is most likely going to be pretty much either traded or we might be looking at a possible demotion. I really don't want to demote him. He's way too good for that. However, his statistics for this year just aren't backing up his abilities. So there's a chance that we might be looking at a trade with possibly Schumacher, and maybe. I mean, I don't want to make any big assumptions, but there is a chance they might dump Kron on somebody if someone considers him a decent prospect. Because I still think that he's easily a valuable hitter on anyone's team and could become a huge impact maker on multiple organizations. So I still feel like as if he's really good, but he would need to prove himself before I could probably bring him back up. But we just need room for Richards to come back up. This is even without Tropiano, who is starting to make some waves down in AAA with his rating systems again, headed towards that potential once more. And this is what I was kind of hoping to bring back, because his numbers in AAA have just been really lackluster, unfortunately. Just hasn't been doing very good as of lately. He had a good game against Memphis. I mean, he was doing decently, but he just hasn't been able to really prove himself again. Unfortunately, same with Santiago. Just can't. We weren't able to give him a chance to pitch in the big leagues, and now they're looking very bad in the minors. So I don't know if we'll lose them at this point. There's a chance we might be able to dump one of them with a deal or something like that. And we have, basically, at this point, we have too many starters, which is a good thing to have. That's always a really good thing to have. I think Tropiano's probably the one person to stay. I bet you Santiago and Schumacher are probably going to be our trade baits. We might, I say this tentatively, but we may trade bait CJ Wilson out there and see if anyone likes his 2.59 ERA numbers. Now, technically, we need him, so I would highly doubt that I would ever move Wilson unless we got just an uberly really good deal. Like maybe from the Rockies we could get either, something to do with Dickerson or, a couple people from them or something like that. We would need some really good people to be able to make a move like that. Big moves around the league so far. The D-backs have kind of started to make moves with the Dodgers in the West. Cincinnati has pretty much taken over the Central, which is amazing considering the Cardinals have got Verlander, for Pete's sake, and he's got a 1.21 ERA. The Cardinals just can't hit, I guess, because he's doing amazing in St. Louis. In fact, he might be someone that you could probably pick up for trade bait if you don't have a good enough rotation, unlike us. Miami is still competing for first, but the Mets are making moves this month. They looked very strong. Washington continues to just befuddle me in 5th place. I don't know what's going on with them. The White Sox dumped, as I expected. They're on a 7-game losing streak right now. I don't expect much more out of them, to be honest, because they don't have Sale right now, and they won't have him for another month and a half or so. Without Sale, the White Sox are hopeless. They just are. So the Tigers have taken over first in the Central, but they're under 500 for a team right now, which basically means that our division has all the good teams. The Astros are good. The Rangers are good, the Athletics are good, and we are the leader in this division. But the Athletics and Astros are trying to claw back in right now, and Seattle isn't that far behind either. We're all close to 500. We all would almost be first in the Central, which is kind of sad, because only 3 of us can go if we have the wild card with us in favor. So technically, that's 3 out of 4, but there's really 5 good teams in this division. So, sad day. The 680 win percentage for the Diamondbacks is just amazing. I kind of want to know how they're doing it, but I think it's their hitting. I'm pretty sure it's a combination of Trumbo. Let's find out, actually. I want to find this out fast. So, what are we looking at for the D-backs? It's actually their pitching. Hellickson's had an amazing year. He's injured right now, but he's doing amazing. Their relief is untouchable. Chase Anderson is doing amazing. Holy crap, he's good. Clemenger's holding the rotation down with De La Rosa as well. And Trumbo's just smashing the ball all over the place with Goldschmidt backing him up. Wow. They just get timely hitting for a really good rotation. And this is kind of scary because if you notice, their top 2 prospects are both starters. And they are both posed. Shipley, this is not even doing them justice. That's Shipley right there. And then this is Blair. Blair is already considered a 4-star prospect. He's really a 4.5 prospect, though. He should be making waves pretty soon as well. And that doesn't even consider Bradley. Where is Bradley right now? There he is. Archie Bradley's even in AAA. This is their number one prospect, really. And he's really good. So the D-backs have some interesting depth, and they're winning right now, too. Oh, they've got tons of injuries, though. Corbin comes back in 2 weeks. Hellickson's out for 3 days. Royal will be coming back in 4 to 5 weeks. Siegler is out for 7 months. Man, if they had all of these guys as well, maybe they wouldn't be doing so well, but I think they'd be doing fantastic. We may have done a bad job picking up Peralta for Ionetta. I don't think Ionetta's been doing that good, but giving the D-backs the space to put Trumbo in the starting lineup has been a blessing in disguise for them. And Inciarte as well, for having his 15 stolen bases, kind of like Ibar for me, technically, at this point. Wow, that's just really interesting. So we'll wrap up our little sim here with some information about our month. So we are really low on money at this point, which is kind of strange, but we should be okay. We did do some contract extensions, and we're not going to extend Casimir at the moment. He's wanting 16 mil, which is kind of a lot for a number 3 starter. So there's a potential that we're not going to be re-signing him. Zobrist wants 11 now, which is okay, but he would need to perform a lot better for me to even want to come close to an 11 million contract for him. Going back to this right here, we'll just take a look at the pitching stats for the month at this point. So let's just try to do May's. So for May, let's just do Major League levels though. Our starting rotation, Schumacher was doing pretty bad. Jared Weaver had a bad May. Holy crap. But Wilson had a 2.08, Shields dropped it back down with a 3.89, and Scott Casimir had a 2.68. And then Salas was the only person who really had a bad relief situation. Everyone else was doing just amazing. So that's just what I've been looking at. It's just like, they're all so good. I don't really want to make any big adjustments to the team because it's clicking. It's literally clicking well right now. And if I make a bad move, I could blow it all up. Now, here's the problem. Zobrist, Ibar, Pierzynski, all had bad Mays. Just really bad Mays. Wow, Trout had 13 stolen bases in May? That's amazing. I mean, comparing that to their Aprils, I mean, Ibar had an even worse April, sorry. Trout had an amazing April at this point. With Pierzynski and Peralta, Dozier wrapping up a great April situation. But, man, Ibar is definitely... He's not an offensive shortstop, and I kind of am realizing that now, which is kind of sad. So there may be a chance for us to potentially maybe trade for a shortstop. We may be debating about trading for a better shortstop, and we do have someone on the radar. The Rockies are right now 18-32. They currently have a .259 batting average Tulowitzki, who we may be setting our sights on. Possibly. And not because I love the Rockies, even though I do, but because they may be going into rebuilding mode very, very shortly here. And we could interest them with some stuff. I don't think we have a lot to offer them, but maybe we could. Maybe. Very, very rough. Maybe we could. Who do they have up right now, at this point? Nobody new, at least. So they haven't really gone to their bench yet, outside of Yanoa, which is kind of sad, because that means that LeMahieu's not actually starting? Is he? He's not starting. Wow, that's rough. Man, that's rough. He should be better than this. He should be a lot better than this, to be honest, though. He's a much better player than that. We know after this year he's much better than that. Hunley's doing very well for... What is it, for May? Yeah, it's for May, I think. Wow. So there's a potential trade in the works for Tulowitzki. I'll let you guys know what happens with that. Maybe that's our Garrett Richards trade. Not with Richards, but, you know, the replacement for Richards goes over to here. Maybe that's the kind of deal we make. Because we need a shortstop, and we also need a catcher. And Hundley would be a decent... Well, no, Pierzynski's pretty decent. I'm going to stick with Pierzynski. What we really need is... shortstop, and I'd have to say third base, but Featherston and Johnson are doing adequate as, you know, as a platoon situation for that. First base is doing just fine. Outfield's doing just fine. I mean, even if their numbers don't really show great expansive, growth or just domination. I mean, Zobrist's batting 215 is not that great, but he's a utility player. He's always going to be all over the place, and I just need him there to fill in spots when I need him to, because he's going to be all over the diamond. Same with Featherston, Johnson. They're going to be all over the place, and they're doing an amazing job right now. And it shows. Our record's 30-21. It really is. And I think that we're going to get some really good results for the All-Star game as well. We probably might get... I'm hoping we get 2 or 3 people in the All-Star game at this point. Let me run through the emails really fast. I'll just cover a couple of them. We don't need to do all of them at this point. What were the reports at this point? So Mike Morse has been continuing to just be a beast right now when it comes to stuff. Papelbon, I think we already knew this, but he did get the pitcher of the month, I believe, for April. Yeah. Now there's more about him later, so stay tuned for that. We did get a trade proposal. They wanted Schumacher, but they were only going to give us A.J. Ellis, a catcher. This is the Dodgers, that is, and Zach Bird, who I don't think... He's decent, actually. He is pretty decent, but I really wasn't in the mood to trade Schumacher at that time. So maybe my opinion changes at this point. I don't know. We will see. We will see what we want to do with Schumacher. Abreu got the player of the week, as well as Walker. Burrows got injured, which is kind of sad. There were suspensions to both Hellickson from the D-backs and Arenado from the Rockies. That was kind of sad as well. Pedroia had a rehab problem and had to get set back a while. Masterson did pretty well with Boston. I think Boston's been doing pretty decently so far. Cano got injured, which was a plus for all of us in the American League West. He was out for 3 weeks. I think he's back by this point, though, but he's not doing that good anyway, so you know what? I don't really care. Don't really care. Then, Pierzynski came by and wanted to get an extension. We offered him a deal, which was about a $1.3 million contract, and he took it. So we're good for that. Now, Papelbon is a little bit upset because he says that his manager came up and decided to criticize his play, trying to motivate him to do better. You don't ever do that to Papelbon. Papelbon is an idiot, okay? He knows it. He knows it. That's his style. His style is big and brash. So don't ever do that, guys. Just don't sign him. Don't sign him. Beltre pounded his 400th home run. Zobrist approached us and wanted an extension. We're not willing to do that to him yet, which was good and bad. Upton was doing pretty decently for the month. He did pretty well. Crisp had a setback and has not been doing very good since then. This guy was actually pretty interesting. Ruff. He's actually someone who was playing for the Phillies back in 2013. He was going to be a replacement for Ryan Howard, but he's now playing again this year, and he's actually starting, and he's doing pretty decently, on schedule to hit 44 home runs. So, interesting. We signed all of our new coaches. These are all people that we signed to play for our minor league teams. We signed Marlon Anderson, Eric Hinsk. We also signed Andy Fox, Kelly Stinnett as a manager. We signed a new scout, which has been a very good pickup for us personally. And all of them signed, thank goodness. Longoria is out for 3 weeks. He's back already since then, I think, technically. Wade Davis is out 4 months. That's really sad because I think the Royals already lost somebody else, if I remember correctly. So that's interesting, especially since they're in the midst of a bit of a bad American League Central. They need him. Davis has been doing pretty decently, mostly just because of his power. He's on track to do, 33 home runs, 493 slugging percentage is pretty decent. It's nowhere close to his 2013 performance, but then again, that's what happens when you have the symptoms he has. Now, there we go. Yep, he won the National Player of the Week. Upton did. That was a good one for him. Kinsler was out for 4 weeks. He had a rough time as well. And then, of course, Baltimore then lost Davis for 6 months. So he's gone for the rest of the year pretty much at this point. Verlander continues to shine, even with St. Louis. He's now at a 1.21 ERA. He's 3-2, though. So maybe there's a chance for something there. Upton technically wants out of San Diego. And this is where it's going to get interesting, because we're going to probably end up looking at these kind of messages and starring them and coming back to them later. because there may be a chance for us to grab someone like Justin Upton, especially if it means we can get him for dirt cheap with the Padres doing so poorly. We may be able to get him and maybe have him go into right field. I say that hesitantly because that's technically Dozier's, or not Dozier's, that's technically Zobrist's spot. But maybe he goes to left field and pushes Trout over to center. No, Trout's right in center. I don't think we could probably even afford Upton, to be honest. And I don't think he'll ever be able to do as good as we would like him to do, which is a 330 homer plus year. I mean, right now he's looking at a 19 homer, 22 stolen base year. Just not that good. So, potentially something to look at later on in the year. Not quite sure. Paxton's out for the rest of the year. He tore a rotor cuff. He's gone. So the Mariners are pretty much just all over the place. Garcia won the Player of the Week awards for the American League. Belt won it for the National League. Garcia's been doing pretty decently. He was kind of the reason why the White Sox were doing so well, to be honest. And then this came through. The Rockies and San Diego Padres traded Charlie Blackmon for a couple of prospects, and it's been kind of interesting to see what happens with Blackmon. He's done very well in San Diego, but not quite sure about that. Kershaw is gone. I'm sorry, guys. Kershaw's gone for the year. This is why the Dodgers are losing to the D-backs at this point. He stretched an elbow ligament, which I guess is typically Tommy John surgery. So he's gone for the year, which means that, man, that's rough for them. And then, of course, Johnny Cueto's out 2 to 3 months. He tore his labrum, and he's going to be needed by the Reds. So there's a lot of teams who have been, doing well and making moves, and now, man, they're losing their best players. So we'll see how this goes. Victor Martinez got traded with some cash for Gregoria Petit with New York, and also Greg Bird. Greg Bird's actually a pretty decent prospect for first base. We'll see if that becomes something interesting for the Yankees with Victor Martinez, but I'm not quite sure about that, to be honest. We keep seeing really cool stuff about these prospects, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, they're decent, I guess, but we'll find out about them later. At this point, the AL player was Mookie Betts. Hundley got the National League one. There's some really cool rookies right now. Jake Lamb's doing pretty well in slugging percentage because he's a slugger, no duh. Abreu got the winner for the American League for the month of May, as did Harper for the National League, respectively. Green was given the American League Pitcher of the Month, whereas Chase Anderson was given the National League. Rookies went to Micah Johnson and Jorge Soler, which is a very good move for the Cubbies because they're going to need him. So far, we are currently ranked as 6th, which is very nice. The Dodgers and D-backs are really high up on the list, but then there's us, the Athletics, the Astros, and technically the Rangers all in the top 12. So there's 4 American League West teams in the top 12. There are, in fact, there's two National League West teams in the top 3, which is kind of interesting. But the Reds and Dodgers lost their aces. So that'll be interesting to see what happens to those teams if they drop completely or whatever the heck happened at this point. I don't know. Man, Hamilton continues to make me just hope and pray he becomes healthy faster. He's still in there 4 to 5 weeks left until he's back. When he comes back, he's fully taking over right field, and we're moving Peralta either to the bench or left field. And we're moving Peralta either over to right field or maybe the center. I don't know what we're gonna do at this point, because I really don't feel like trading him. I want to give him a chance to play, and we're definitely going to do that. He'll be back before the All-Star game, technically, because that's in, a little over a month and a half? So yeah, he should be back right around the All-Star game, and that should be fun. So yeah, American League voting so far, we currently have number 2 on the first base position, number 2 on the second base position. We are number 2 on the shortstops, which is absolutely idiotic. We're first in center field. We have no pitchers at the moment, which is kind of sad because we do have best pitching pretty much. I would consider it really good pitching. Again, maybe we go out and grab Tulowitzki. Maybe we grab Castro. I don't know. Maybe we actually go and grab somebody else. We're thinking about it. That's all I can say. We're looking into the prospects of signing somebody at this point, maybe making a move. maybe grabbing somebody important. Especially with a National League West division in complete and total chaos, it's a good time for us to swoop in and grab somebody. We'll be doing our own voting by the end of the All-Star voting. We won't do it now. I'll do it in my spare time and not make you guys have to watch through all of that. But we will eventually do this as well. So we will do some deals. I'll let you know what we do in the next simulation. Before I talk about stuff like that in the next sim, I will cover over what we did in terms of changes. I'll let you know what kind of, if we didn't get any changes, I'll let you know what kind of rumors we had, because sometimes you want to just know what I'm thinking, and that's all that really matters. So thank you so much for watching this month. We are looking very good at 30 and 21. Our rookie systems are doing decently. Once you get past AA, they're not doing very good otherwise. But yeah, hopefully we'll do well for the rest of the year. And thank you so much for watching.